little housekeeping announcement. So what we're going to talk about now is the kitchen table presentation. And again, being able to give a great kitchen table presentation that's systematized, that you can duplicate with your people, is really a make it or a break it in this business, because recruiting is necessary, licensing is necessary, but if they do not know how to get results across the kitchen table and get a yes and properly protect families, right, and help them invest the difference, nobody's going to make any money, right? That's what we do here, guys. We help families, and this is the best way to do it, right? So it's my opinion that you need to be doing financial needs analysis with your clients, right? I know some of you do not do that. I think that that's a mistake. I think you leave a lot of business on the table. So I think that there's a real process to this that we're going to go through, and then we'll take some question and answer at the end, okay? But really there's 3 reasons for mastering the kitchen table, okay, in my opinion. There are 3 outcomes that you're trying to get, right? Outcome number 1 is we want to have a booked financial needs analysis. When you go on the kitchen table, that's priority 1, that you come away with a booked financial needs analysis, okay? That's goal 1. Goal 2 is that you walk out of there with a life close, okay? Goal 3 is that you set yourself up, I'm going to change markers here, for good referrals. Okay, these are your 3 priorities on a kitchen table. How can you tell if you're good at kitchen tables or not? Are those 3 things happening? If they're not happening, you have some work to do. If they are happening, then you're right on. You're exactly where you should be. Okay, so those are your 3 goals. So let me go through the process with you. I'll model it for you, and then we'll do some question and answer, okay? So again, step 1 is always form, okay? Same thing with recruiting, form, right? Form is going to tell me everything I need to know about how to recruit those people at the end of the presentation, right? Okay, because kitchen tables lead to recruits, and they lead to some of the best recruits. Some of the best recruits you're ever going to get are going to be our clients. They know what we do, they value what we do, they're clients. Now it's easy for them to talk about it with other people, right? So step 1 on this is form, okay? Which we already talked about, we're not going to go through again, okay? This is where you need to be building rapport as well. Be looking around, looking for things that you can identify with, things that they may be interested in, that you're interested in. You're in their house, right? So you see their stuff, right? He's got bowling trophies all over the place. Man, I know a great bowler. His name's Jerome Cooper. He bowled at 300 before. He works with me, man. I don't know much about bowling, but I know he does. You must be great, right? And I talk to them about things they like, because all things being equal, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. The more you appear to be like them, the more trustworthy you are. That's how human beings are. They trust themselves, they trust you, right? Okay, so you just need to be aware of that and start to find things you can identify with that client on, right? And then form them. Once you form them, right, you've got to have a transitory statement to move to the presentation. What do I mean by that? So I'm seeing Jeff and Rachel, they go to my church, I'm at their house, I'm commenting on their cheerleading, right, for their daughter, etc. I'm forming them, right, I'm finding out what they like about what they do, etc. I say, well, anyways, Rachel, listen, thanks again for taking some time to meet with me. Like I told you on the phone, right, like I told you on the phone, and whatever you said to get there, right, my guy said, you know, I have a finance license, I just wanted to pop by and show you guys what I was doing, so that if you or somebody you knew could benefit, you'd feel comfortable referring me. So again, I really appreciate you taking a little time. That's the transitory statement. So you're not forming them and then staring at them and them staring back at you and kind of like, well, who's going to talk next and what's going to happen, right?
And now I jump you.
You got to have that transitory statement. Generally, it's a reminder of how you set the appointment. They have forgotten what you said to them. So you need to remind them of what you said. Oh, hey, even more. You are awesome. Thank you. I've got a plethora of colors now. It could be fun. So we're going to remind them of why we set the appointment, right? Okay, and then depending on if you are by yourself or you're training a new person, right, how the next minute or two is going to go is going to differ, right? If it's my personal appointment, I'm there by myself, which I don't recommend you do very often. You should always take people with you if you can. But again, if it was self-generated, what I say to them is I have that transitory statement. I say, so what I'd like to do with you for a couple of minutes is just kind of explain to you what I do, how I help families, how that may benefit you or some people that you know. Is it okay if I spend a couple of minutes sharing that with you? And I ask for permission. You always ask for permission, right? Because little yeses add up to big yeses, right? So little yes there, right? It adds to increasing amounts and scopes of the yeses that are coming later, right? So is it all right if I share that with you? Okay? So the first thing that I do is I address Primerica. I'd say, Rachel, I work with a company called Primerica. You may or may not have heard of Primerica. Tell me what you know about what we do. Okay? So I want to find out, what does she know? Because she either knows nothing or something. If she knows nothing, I would say, well, that's pretty normal actually, right? We used to be with a company called Citigroup. We spun off about 5 years ago. We're publicly traded, but we work by referral. So really the only way you would know of us is if somebody you knew worked with us, or maybe somebody had referred you. So that's not abnormal. And I address it. If they know something about it, I ask, well, tell me what you know. Well, I think it's this or this. And how did you get that information? Well, my brother-in-law used to do it, blah, 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 blah. Oh, great. Who did he work with? I'm just going to find out, is this person neutral? Is this person positive? Is this person negative because their brother-in-law was, the person you talked to who didn't go to class and told everybody it was the worst thing on earth, right? Okay, so where are we? So I can at least have her in neutral, right? I want her to be open to what I'm saying, right? So tell me what you know about Primerica. If I'm training a new person, so I'm out with Allie, right? I'm training a new person. It's her kitchen table, but I'm presenting because I'm the trainer, okay? I'm going to say, Henry, what did Allie tell you about what she's gotten herself into here?
I don't remember.
Okay? And I'm just going to ask. And sometimes they'll say, well, she told me it was this or this. Sometimes they'll say nothing, right? And then I would say, well, you're a very brave guinea pig. Thank you for spending some time with us today. And he laughs, and it breaks the ice a little bit, right? Sometimes, if they're really tense, I would say, Allie, go get the vacuum cleaner, right? It's in the car, right? And I say, don't worry, we're not selling you $3,000 vacuum cleaners, right? One time I had somebody tell me, dang, I really needed one of those. I can arrange for that to happen potentially, we'll see, right? But I ask them, I say, what did Allie tell you about why we're getting together today, right? And I let them kind of recap what they said. Sometimes people set appointments in the wrong way, right? We have scripts that we use. You guys need to listen to them. Don't go off of them, right? Oh, he just told me he needed some training. I can overcome that. That's not a real good setup because they're already coming in with like, oh, I'm not doing anything, I'm just listening, right? I'd rather them say, well, he told me he was getting his finance license and just kind of wanted to show me what he was doing. That's wonderful. That's neutral ground where now we can proceed. But I need to figure out what they know about why the appointment was set up and what they know about the company. Okay, everybody following that? Okay, so after I get that information, what I'm going to do at that point is I'm going to say, okay, Rachel, so like I told you, I'd just like to show you a little bit about what we're doing, how we help people, how that may benefit you guys. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to show you a couple of pages of something real quick. Okay, so Rich, go. Oh, it's right here. All right, so this is the presentation that I use. Okay, and I use one page. And I say to this, right, okay, let me draw it out. So the next step is 2 jobs. So I say, so Rachel, being part of Primerica, we really have 2 jobs. Okay, one job is we help to educate families on how money works. And we teach them some concepts. So I have this up on my iPad, and I touch it. Right? So just teach them some concepts and help them to do things like get out of debt faster, save money on taxes, right? Be able to help send their kids to college, properly insure their family, help them to save more money for things like retirement, maybe starting a business, okay? And how we do that is we teach them some concepts through something called a financial needs analysis. I blow it up, I make that F and A bigger. And what that is that's a written plan that shows people where they are, helps them figure out where they want to be, and then teaches them how to get from where they are to where they want to be more efficiently. Okay, does that kind of make sense? They say, yeah. Say, so think about it like this. If you were going to go on a road trip from here to Los Angeles, okay, you would probably put that in a GPS, right? And you would do that so that you knew the best route to take from where you are to where you want to be. You probably wouldn't just start driving west, right? You could get there, but it's not going to be very efficient, right? Okay? And that makes total sense, and I'm nodding the whole time, right? You see kind of how I'm talking slower and on a lower tone of voice as well? Listen, if you talk fast at people, they think you're trying to sell them something. If you talk slow and low, it allows them to feel a little bit more relaxed and more comfortable, right? Okay, so it makes total sense that people would do that when it comes to planning a road trip, but believe it or not, Rachel, most people don't apply the same common sense to their finances. They're just kind of driving west and hoping it works. Does that make sense? Okay, so we feel like it's the best idea that people have a plan versus winging it. Would you agree that it would be better to have a plan than not have a plan? Yes. Absolutely, right? Okay. So we put this plan together for people. The average financial advisor, according to Consumer Reports, charges about $1,100 to do a plan that makes specific recommendations. Okay, Rachel, we charge a price that nobody bickers about. We charge free, okay? Because it's free, we actually have about 60,000 families a month right now switch their finances to us company-wide. About 50,000 of those families do some form of business with us. We're able to help them in some way, shape, or form. Okay, does that make sense? So let me ask you a question. Do you and Jeff have a written plan that shows you how to do all those things, or are you just kind of doing it on your own right now?
We're doing it on our own.
Doing it on your own. So obviously, if you could have a plan, it was free to have a plan, it would be better to have a plan than to just continue doing it on your own, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, Rachel, listen, because it's free, I'm going to ask you for two things in return, okay? So this is the gotcha. Number one is this. When I come back and you're able to look at me across your kitchen table and you're able to say, Ian, this was really good. This was absolutely worth doing. This made a big difference for us. I'm going to ask that you would be okay referring me to 5 to 10 people that are married, have kids, have a home, and have a job, okay, that may benefit from some of the same free information that you found valuable. Now, Rachel, on the flip side of that, if when I come back, you're like, you know what, I already knew all this stuff, you were really pushy, your breath smelled bad, whatever, I don't want your referrals, okay? If I can do a great job for you, you feel great about what I did and it was free, would you have any problem referring me to those 5 to 10 people? Okay, very good. Jeff, you feel the same way? Okay, very good. The second thing I'm going to ask from you is this. When I come back with a plan that does get you out of debt faster, it does better protect your family, it does help you save more or more efficiently than you're saving now, and it doesn't cost you any more money than you are spending to do these financial things now, Rachel, I'm going to ask that you would go forward with the improvements that I'm recommending to you. On the flip side, when I come back, if you're like, you know what, this isn't better, right? It's more expensive, it's not an improvement, Rachel, I don't want you to go forward with anything that I'm recommending. So if you can look at it and you can say, yes, this is clearly better, it's not costing me any more money, is there any reason you wouldn't go forward with some of the improvements that I'll be able to make for you? Jeff, you feel the same way? Wonderful. Okay, so listen, here's what I'm going to need from you. So let's stop real quick. So, right, 2 jobs, we're still in job 1 right now, aren't we? We educate families on this, and this by doing a financial needs analysis. Think about taking a road trip from here to LA. You put it in GPS or at least a map, right? Most people don't use that same common sense when it comes to their finances. Wouldn't it make sense to have a plan versus not having a plan? Do you have a plan? Would you like to have a plan versus not having a plan? By the way, it's free, right? Because it's free, I want two things. Those two things are the most important part of this entire presentation. If you skip the commitments, right, you're toast. Again, you're framing. I'm framing. If I do this, you will do this. If I don't set that frame, if I do this, they could do anything, right? Okay? Right? So I want to make sure that I'm really clear, right? I ask both of their permission. So you're okay, Jeff, you're okay with that too, right? I give them an out. If this is not better, it's not good, you tell me I don't want anything. Is that fair? Right? And I get these yeses along the way. So once they both agree, so I say, well, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to set up a time to get back together. We're not going to do this tonight, okay? We're going to set up a time to get back together, and we're going to take 60 to 90 minutes. We're going to put a plan together to help you do this. And it's going to be awesome. You guys are going to be so happy we did this, and you're going to be so much further ahead than all of your friends and people in your family that are not doing something like this. So you guys are really, you're a step ahead. You're doing the right thing. I then reaffirm that decision for them to do it, right? Because they're going to talk to somebody at work like, yeah, you don't need a finance, you know, you just pick the blue ones in the 401k, you'll be okay, right? Okay, and so I'm preparing them to think like, that guy's a dum-dum and you're good, because that's true, right? Okay, it's always better to have a plan than not have a plan. So we set the time, right? So it's Thursday at 7. You're always going to set it for within a week. None of this 2-week, 3-week out crap is not going to work. They're going to reschedule. So you set it, and then you post-close the appointment. So we set Thursday at 7. They say, Rachel and Jeff, listen, I'm going to plan my day around being here. So I'm going to book some other things around you guys, okay? So I need you to promise me, like, unless there's a literal life or death emergency, that you won't reschedule that, okay? Because I'm going to book a lot of things around it. So you're good for that time? Jeff, you're good for that time too? Okay, very good. So I'm going to need you to get a couple of things together for me. Number one is statements, right? So statements for all your debt, statements for insurance, and statements for investments. I need those three things. Now, if you can't find something, don't worry. It's probably online. You may know a little bit, you know, off the top of your head. But the more statements you can find, the better. Okay, so that's your job to look for that. Before I leave tonight, Rachel, I'm going to actually potentially try to get a couple of these things so I can do a little bit of research. That's how you get to the life close. You understand? Right? I set the F&A, I got the time, it's solid. Okay, now I'm post-closing the time, right? And I'm telling them what they're going to need, and then I foreshadow a little bit. Hey, I may try to get a couple of these pieces of information at night that I can take with me, so when I come back, I've done some research on them. Okay? Now, like I said, guys, there were 2 jobs, so that's done. What has been accomplished? Goal 1 was what? F&A. Is F&A accomplished?
Yes.
Yes. Check. What do I still have left? Life close and referrals. Now, I'm not going to get the referrals on time 1, but I have set the expectations of referrals. Check. Right? Okay? So, the second job we have, Rachel, is we bring on agents on a part-time basis. We teach them our business, they get licensed, and they go out and they help people on their own time to get out of debt, to save money on taxes, that whole thing. So I'm looking for a couple types of people. So I want you to be thinking about this between now and when we get back together. I'm looking for people that are money motivated, so people that, you know, may need to make more money. You probably know of some friends that, I mean, they really need to do more than they're doing now, right? Okay, people that are, you know, motivated, they're ambitious, they want something more in their life, maybe people that want to be a business owner, okay? So I want you to think about that. I'm sure you guys are not interested in that. I know you guys are doing really well where you are. I'm sure you're very happy. I'm sure they treat you great, okay? But I want you to think of some people that are not real happy in their current situation, okay? So just think about that, and when we get back together, you'll probably have a couple of people that I'd like to talk to there. So that's our second job, is we're bringing on agents part-time that can help people. So I want you to think about that, okay? Very good. So we've got Thursday at 7 set up. Here's what I need to get from you tonight, okay, so I can do a little bit of extra research, and that is investment statements on like prior 401ks or IRAs. Do you guys have anything like that? Previous employer stuff, IRAs, do you have anything like that at all? And the answer is either what? Yes or no. If it's yes, say great. Do you have statements on that? Wonderful. Can you go get them real quick? Boom. And I get the statements, I want to bring them with me. Very rarely am I going to make any form of investment recommendation on the initial kitchen table. But I know now what I'm dealing with, right? You follow that? I've got those statements, I can go back, run a Morningstar on it, and if I need to, right? So they go back, they bring me $200K from Merrill Lynch. Do you like your advisor? I haven't seen him in 2 years. Is it doing pretty well? It's doing okay. Great. If I could show you something that you felt would help you grow the money more effectively, is there any reason you would want to stay there? No. Okay, perfect. And I'll get a commitment on that part of it, right? You follow that? Okay. So the second thing that I'm going to ask for is I'm going to say, great. The other thing I want to see real quick is your life insurance policy. So I'm sure you guys have life insurance. Who do you have that through right now? And they're going to tell you one of three things. I have no life insurance, I have life insurance through work, or they're going to name a company. All right, you following that? Everybody good with this so far? Okay, so this is how you get this done on time one. Okay, so I have a presentation. I call them the 3 reasons. Okay, and depending on how they answer, you give them one of these 3 presentations and you follow this process. Okay, so let's start with people who have life insurance through work. So she says, yeah, we have it through our job. Great. So you have some insurance through your job, but do you have any life insurance? Well, we have it through our job. Okay, but you have nothing that you own on your own? No, I just have it through work. Okay, do you mind if I take a couple minutes and just kind of educate you a little bit on how that works? They say yes, right? And I talk about the 3 reasons, right? So I say this, I say, Jeff, Rachel, whatever you get from work that's free, you should take as much of it as you can. Free is good, that's wonderful. Okay, but Jeff, if you're spending $1 on life insurance through work, it's probably pretty cheap, right? Okay, if you're spending $1 on it, unfortunately, you're being ripped off. Okay, let me show you why, okay? Reason number 1 is the trend. So you need to learn how to say this exactly like I say it. Reason number 1 is the trend, okay? And the trend in employee benefits is not that employees are getting more and more, and that it's getting better and better, right? Every news channel you see doesn't show employees jumping for joy outside of the factory because their employee benefits just got better, right? What does it show? Employee benefits getting cut, having to shoulder more of their own costs, having to go private, okay? So the fact is, employee benefits are getting worse, right? Okay, so I don't know about you, but does it make sense that we would bet our entire financial future and our family's well-being against a clear and obvious trend that says in 10 years that product probably isn't going to exist anymore? Does that make sense that we would bet something that important against this? Probably not, right? Okay. Okay, the second reason is you have to work there to be able to get the insurance. So, people working for 30, 40 years at one place and retiring, that used to be commonplace, right? But today that doesn't really exist anymore, right? People are more transitory. They move from place to place to place. So we want to buy life insurance that no matter where we work, if we die, we get the money. Wouldn't that make sense to you? Yeah. You don't want to have to be working somewhere, because if you retire or you go contract or somebody gives you a better offer and you go to another company and they don't have that, or it doesn't kick in for 90 days, we don't want to have these gaps, right? We want our family to be protected, okay? So you got to be there while we're working. Third is life insurance is generally an active payroll benefit. So what that means is not only do you have to be working there, but you have to be on active payroll. You can't be on long-range disability. You can't be on different things, right? You've got to be healthy and working. Okay, so again, we don't want to bet our family's financial future on something that may not pay us because we had cancer first. Right. We want to be paid no matter what. You guys would agree with that. Your family's that important, no matter what, no matter when, no matter who we work for, no matter what changes happen in the economy, your family needs to be protected, right? Yes. Okay. So that's why you need to have something that you own. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so then I would transition into a close, which I'll show you in a second. So this is no life insurance, okay? Or I'm sorry, work life insurance. Let's deal with no life insurance. So I say, one of the other things I want to get from you tonight, Rachel, before I leave is just to pick up your life insurance policy. So sure, you have life insurance, who is it through? And they're like, oh, we don't have life insurance, right? And so I stop, I look at them, I say, you don't have any life insurance? And they're like, no, I know. The transaction is done right there, right? It's how you respond to that, right? They know they need to do it, right? They just aren't doing it. So I'd say, Jeff, Rachel, listen, before we leave here tonight, we need to take care of that, okay? Because that's a big issue. So let me kind of explain something to you real quick, if that's okay. Generally, when I meet people that don't have any life insurance, there's one of three reasons they don't have it, okay? The first reason is they just kind of know they need to have it. They just haven't gotten around to it, right? Life's busy, and they're like, I know I need to do this, but okay, right? Yep. The second reason is, so first is busy. Second reason is, sometimes I meet people that don't have it because they're concerned about what it's going to cost. So like, gosh, I don't want another bill. It's probably going to be really expensive. Things are tight. Okay? So second is the money. Third is, and guys, listen, I know this isn't you. You guys seem like very nice people. It looks like you have a great family. But believe it or not, from time to time, I actually meet people who just don't care about their family. So I know that's not you, obviously, right? So which of those first two is the main reason you guys would say that you don't have this? And I let them answer, right? Generally, it's this. Say, okay, well, this is something we're going to take care of tonight, okay? If it's money, right, then I'll ask them a little bit more about, well, how much do you think it costs? Do you have any other bills that when you die, they're going to pay your family for the rest of your life? Cable's not going to call you and say, man, I know Jeff had SportsCenter, he had HBO, he had all the packages, he was such a great customer, you guys were with us for 9 years, we heard about his passing, and man, we just want to pay for your kids' school, pay off your mortgage, thank you so much. That's not happening, right? Okay, and there's no other, you promise there's no other bill that's going to call you and say that, right? Except for this. So would you consider this to be a bill or maybe more an investment in your family's well-being? Probably an investment, right? Good. Okay. Very rarely do you meet people that will say, I'm a number 3, right? Which is don't care. But sometimes you do meet them, right? You ever met those people? They just don't care, man. They want church softball better than they want to protect their family, right? So I find out what it is, and then I go into the close, which we'll get to in a second. This is what you do for people who have no life insurance. For people that do have life insurance, what do? You get the policy, and then you show it, right? You conquer the policy. It's cash value, and you show them what's wrong with it. It's term. You show them the end of it, right? And you ask them, are you 100% certain you're not going to need any of this, right? We don't have time to go into all of that, right? But if they have the policy, that's easy. That's the easy one, right? You're looking at it right there. You show them right in front of them, this is bad, this is better, let's switch. The first two are the hard ones, right? Okay, everybody following that? Okay, so what's the close? So after you've done the 3 reasons, here's what you say. You say, Jeff and Rachel, I'm going to come back Thursday at 7, okay? And my goal is that I'm going to be able to free up money in this process, that this isn't going to cost you anything. You're just going to have another benefit that you don't have right now. It's not going to cost you a nickel. I'm positive that I'm going to be able to at least partially do that, if not totally, okay, depending on that. But let's pretend for a second that I was not coming back. That really doesn't change the fact that you need to do that for your family, right? Okay, so let's pretend this is exactly how you need to word this. Let's pretend for a second that money was no issue. You had unlimited amount of money to pay premiums. Jeff, how much money do you feel like Rachel would need to have if something happened to you for her to be okay and raise your kids for the next 20 years? What does that dollar amount look like?
How much a year? How much total?
You know, how much? What amount of coverage do you think she would be okay having? And they're generally going to answer, and they're either going to answer something in the ballpark or something really stupid, right? It's about 8 out of 10 ballpark versus stupid. If they say 50 grand or 100 grand, you at that point need to teach them the need for insurance.
Right.
Well, I appreciate that, but you make 50 grand a year, you're not going to retire next year, right? Well, that's right. Well, why not? Well, because I don't have any money. Okay, well, if you died and got 1 year of your income, isn't that exactly what happened?
Yeah.
You probably need to teach the need for life insurance. That is not very prevalent, right? Most people will ballpark the right area, okay? So let's say he says 500. So I write down 500, and what would you want to have something happen to Rachel? Okay, so he says 250. So I write it down.
Yeah.
So question number one was, if money was no issue, how much coverage would you want to have on your family to properly protect them? I get the numbers. Question number two is this: Jeff, listen, money is always an issue. I know it's always a concern. And again, when I come back, I'm going to be able to help you at least partially, if not totally, cover this. No extra cash out of pocket. Again, pretend I wasn't coming back. How much money on a monthly basis do you feel like you could comfortably invest into making sure your family is properly protected? Okay? And so that's the question. How much money do you feel like on a monthly basis that you could comfortably invest in making sure that your family was properly protected? Jeff, before you answer, most of our clients say somewhere between $50 and $100 a month.
Right.
Some of our clients say up to a couple $100 a month. Some of them say as little as 40 or 50 bucks. Where do you feel like you would be comfortable in terms of putting that out to make sure your family was taken care of? What's he almost always going to choose? 50 to 100. Very rarely do they choose the minimum, right? They almost always choose the middle, okay? So he's told me 50 to 100, right? Sometimes, depending on their wishy-washiness, right, I may tie them down right here. It's pretty rare, but if I feel like they're squirmers, they're shapeshifters, right, I'm going to tie them down a little bit into their current shape, right? And I'm going to say, so Jeff, obviously you understand you need to do this, right? When we come back on Thursday, this is going to be the first thing I recommend that we do, right? Okay, so you said you'd like to have this and this, and you would be okay spending that, and I'm going to help you spend even less, right? But you said you'd be okay doing that. I'm going to show you something that will put you in those bounds. Is there any reason that we couldn't protect your family starting now, if I could do that for you? Rarely do I do that, but if I feel like they're squirming, I'm going to tie them down a little bit. It's almost ever. I can't remember the last time I had to do that, okay? But generally I do this. I say, well, let's look at some numbers, right? Okay? So I'm going to show them some numbers that range here, maybe up to a little bit more and a little bit less, right? And then I do the A diagram. Most of you in my organization know the A diagram, but this is your transition to close. They say, Jeff, what we're going to do today, I'm 100% assumptive. What we're going to do today is we're going to file an application. With that application, we're going to put a 1 month's premium of the $100 into escrow. You know what escrow is, right, Jeff? Well, no, tell me about it. Well, it's an account, it's your money, it's set aside for a future use, okay? From today forward, we're going to begin covering you for free for the next 30 to 60 days for up to, but not in excess of $500,000 a piece, okay? In the next 30 to 60 days, I need you to do two things for me. One is a telephone interview where they're going to call you and ask you the same medical questions I asked you today. Two is you're going to need to do a paramed exam, blood, urine, and vitals. It's paid for. They'll come to you. You can go to them. They'll meet you at work, at your house, early, late. It's really convenient, okay? You do it just about whenever. About 60 days from now, Jeff, we're going to get a physical policy back, okay? Once we have that policy back, we start what's called a 20-day right to review. Whereas a client, you and I have three choices. Choice one is we can say no thank you. Why would we say no thank you? Well, the company may force us to do that by declining us, saying we're not going to give you any coverage. Or they may try to help us make that choice by saying, you know what, we'll give this to you, but not for $100 a month, we want $500 a month. And we reserve the right as a client to just say no, okay? If we say no, Jeff, this money that was in escrow is going to get refunded to you in full. So Jeff, I want you to understand, it does not hurt you to try to go through this process. Okay, do you understand that?
Yes.
Good. Second is when it comes back, we can raise it or lower it within reason. So what we're going to do today is we're going to apply for 500. When we do your needs analysis, we may make some minor changes to it. Okay, it's probably going to be pretty close, and then we can do that. So when it comes back, we're like, you know what? I really wanted a little more. I really wanted to get a little longer, maybe I want a little less, we can do that. Today is not the day where we have to finalize that. We're just starting the process. The third thing is, it's probably gonna come back exactly like I showed you, and we're gonna keep it. Okay, so we're gonna sign it into force. This money is gonna come out of escrow and pay the next 1 month forward. So Jeff, it's June now. So June and July will be free. August will be paid for. By what? Sometime in September, you're gonna start making your payments, give or take a couple of weeks. Okay, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So what I need from you guys, I need to get your driver's licenses. I'm just gonna ask you about 10 minutes worth of questions, and we're gonna start this process now, and you're gonna be covered. So don't go killing each other between now and Thursday night, okay? I know it's tempting, okay? But let's go ahead and get this started. Can I grab those licenses from you? Thanks. And that's how you close that. You following that? Okay, this is a process, y'all. If you learn the process and you repeat the process, your results are very predictable, right? You do the presentation, you ask the questions, you book the needs analysis. I want to pick up 2 things now: your investment statements, your life insurance. They're going to respond one of 3 ways. I have no life insurance, I have life insurance through work, right? Or I have it through this. If they have it through a company, you get it. If they have none or through work, you do that presentation. You ask them 2 questions, right? If money was not an issue, how much coverage would you want? How much can you afford to put towards it on a monthly basis? You close with an A diagram, and it's going to close 85 or 90% of the time. Right? Do you understand that? So the question you need to ask yourself is, how close are you following that process? Because the further you get away from the process, the more variables get introduced, don't they? So now you got a lot more that you have to try to control and balance out there that shifts whether or not people move forward. Again, you're framing, you're creating the process, you're in charge. Listen, if they knew all this stuff already, they would already be doing it. That's why they pay us big dollars, guys. Look, some of you just wish people would come and buy from you, and that's not going to ever happen in this business, mainly for 2 reasons. Number 1 is we sell a responsibility product. It's much more fun to blow your money at the bar than put it in the mutual fund until you're 65, right? It's much more fun to take the money and play church softball than protect your family until you die and they raise $1,300 on GoFundMe for the rest of your family's life. Then it was not as fun, okay? So you're selling responsibility, which is necessary but not necessarily attractive, number 1. Number 2 is you're selling to unbelievable ignorance of how any of this stuff works. Therefore, you must get good at the process of making that sale, or you will have a hard time, right? You following that? Okay? So learn the process and inspect it. And here's the deal. If you're having trouble and you're following that process, generally you're not following it, and we can go back in and see where's the problem. Oh, I keep getting people to tell me they want to think about it. Okay, well, where's the problem in that? Let's go figure it out. Right? I keep getting people that tell me they don't think they need it. Okay, well, which one of the 2 presentations didn't you do to them? Right? After the work insurance presentation, nobody is going to leave you thinking they're okay with work insurance. How many times I say, wouldn't you want your family to be protected no matter what? Does it not make, right? We don't want to have our family's financial future tied into something we don't control, somebody can remove on us, and has all sorts of clauses, right? How do they tell you, no, I'm still okay? They just agreed with me 5 times, right? So you're probably missing that. Oh yeah, well I say it, but not quite like that. Okay, well what are you saying? Right? And let's make it more like that. Does anybody have any questions?
When you're doing the quote, do you use the QuickBooks app, or, because I'm still using the QuickBooks app to kind of get their actual coverage and what they're paying, so do you do it just?
Yeah, I mean that's the only way to do it, right? Unless you can make up numbers in your head with it, but yeah. That's, yep, so you're just quoting them normal.
When you go through that process and they say, well, why are we gonna wait? Why are we gonna, spend, $100 a month for 30 years? I'm gonna end up spending like 50 grand throughout 35 years. What would happen after, that 30 years? I'm wasting that money.
Okay, good. So this is an objection in terms of value, right? Perceived value. So you say, Arthur, you know what? I like how you think, and you're exactly right. If you knew you weren't going to die for 65 years, it would be foolish to buy this, and you should save and invest all the money. right? The problem is, do you know the date of your death?
No.
No, neither do I, right? So there's some chance that that unfortunately happens sooner than we'd like to, and now that plan didn't work very well because you saved $1,000 a year for 10 years, and then your family got 15 grand instead of $1 million. You understand? So we need to do both, right? We have insurance till we have enough money that we don't need insurance, right? So you have auto insurance, right?
Right.
Did you get a car accident last month?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the month before? All right. So last month you were happy you had it
Right.
because you got a payout on it. Did you plan on getting in that accident?
No.
You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. But the month before you didn't get in an accident and they still took the same amount of money, didn't they? So you wasted your money the month before, but this month you did pretty well on it. And that's kind of how that's going to work.
And anytime you get statements from them, if you're not securities licensed, can you make investment?
Yeah, you can take the investment statements, absolutely. You take them back to somebody in the office that is investment licensed. Okay? By the way, you need to talk to your RVPs. Some of you have like little rackets going on, or you like all go to some person, like, here's all these statements. You need to bring statements to your RVPs, let your RVPs tell you, right, go with this person, go with this person, I want to go on it, right? Some of you have your buddies and you're like all funneling that stuff, and that's wonderful until they don't close and you lose these big opportunities sometimes, right? So always bring statements to your VPs. That's a great question.
People that have the group insurance that you're talking with them to, do they have a period of time if they lose their job that they can get their own insurance, and if so, then how?
They can always buy their own insurance.
So what's the rationale? How do you say, well, they say I'm getting it for free, so I'll just wait, and if I lose it.
Absolutely. And again, that makes total sense, but there's two variables here. One is not variable, one's a certainty, and the other's a variable. The certainty is they will be older or younger if they wait till they don't have it anymore. They will be older. Life insurance costs are based on two things: age and health. So you may save a little bit of money now, but then you're going to have a more expensive policy forever. You understand that? So if you saved $1,000 by waiting 2 years, but then you pay $200 a year more for 20 years, you saved $1,000 to lose $4,000. So that's part of the rationale. The big part of the rationale is you probably have some risk of not being able to get it once you leave your work. Why? What if you're unhealthy? How many of you have ever had somebody decline on life insurance before? Wonderful. Was there a point in that person's life when they probably would not have been declined? Yes. So what happens when they have a heart attack, they have a stroke, they get diabetes, they get on a couple of blood pressure meds, their parents die prior to 65, and now they're not eligible for preferred rates, etc., right? There's all sorts of risk that person takes by waiting. So can they save a little bit? Yes, but at what cost? Potentially an enormous cost, because they can't get it, and now they have no insurance, right?
In some employer benefit companies, when the employee leaves, they give them one option with their group life insurance, and that is to convert it to whole life. They have no other option but to convert it to whole life insurance.
Yeah, some companies do, and like the auto companies, generally you can convert it, but it's super expensive. Again, it's like Cobra health insurance. Does anybody stay on Cobra health insurance? No, why? It's pretty good, but it's just butt expensive, right? So same thing here. So we know at some point you're not going to work there anymore. Yes? Yes, great. Would it make sense to solve that problem now for a little bit of money, or wait till it's potentially unsolvable, or it's only solvable for hundreds or thousands a month, right? Why wouldn't we solve it now for a little bit, right? That's kind of the rationale I would use.
I have a question. Once you get them to choose like life insurance, you obviously want them to save, so eventually they'll use life insurance.
Sure.
How do you get to that part?
Through the F&A.
What if they don't have life insurance or yet at all in their financial plan whatsoever?
Right, so again, so what I've told them is you need to do that. So let's pretend I'm not coming back. That, right? What if you don't have mutual funds or investments? Does it, or life insurance? Does it cost you money to have those things? Yes, it does, right? So you need to, but that doesn't change the fact that you need to do them, right? So I set that precedent of, let's pretend I'm not coming back. What do you feel comfortable putting towards this? By the way, I am coming back, and I'm going to help you rearrange your cash flow so that without additional cash, you're doing these things better. You following that?
Yep.
Yeah. And then I'm going to pick up the investments later. What happens if people don't have enough money to invest? What do you do? Well, yeah, you recruit them, but remember the house, right? Hey, you don't have enough money to invest. At some point you will if you pay off your debt or you make more money, right? But I can fix broke but still alive. I can't fix dead, you know? So it's just it's a priority thing, you know? Go ahead.
So I went on a few appointments in the beginning, and obviously I know how to get over a few objections, but the one objection I'm having problems with is they say, well, I have a policy right now, and they have like a accidental death type of thing, and I thought.
So you read it to them, right? Read the policy, right? You have to die in a common carrier crash, plane, train, or automobile for hire, right? So I don't know about you, but I'm not riding the train every day. Right? So again, I just ask them, do you want your family to get money no matter how you die, or do you need to fall out of the plane for them to get it? Which way would you like? We have time for one more question, two more questions. One, two, go.
It was more of a statement, but like on that, Ian had the person sitting with me read the policy, so if they owned it, you know, so I don't know how to.
I just say, please read this right here. And they read it, and they're looking all confused. What does that mean? Well, it means just what it said. Well, that's not what the guy said. Well, that's why he didn't have you read it.
So you have to get their statements, and then you ask them to go get their life insurance. You can't find out, no, hey, I'm all good there. How do you handle those? They won't get it, or if I'm all good, my life insurance is fine, I got it already, it's my own. And how do you overcome that? What's your
Second opinion.
That almost never happens because I'm doing it as part of the process. Like, I can't ever remember that happening. I can remember people that are like, oh yeah, they're saying yes all along, and they're like, oh, I'm all set. So then what I do is I just prove to them that I know more than they do, right? And I'll just start asking them. Generally, I won't do it on insurance. I'll ask them on their investments. Oh, I'm all set. I got a guy. Oh, that's great, man. That's awesome. What was the beta on your portfolio last year? Well, I thought you said you had a guy and you were all set.
What about insurance?
Well, they generally are a package. They're objecting to getting me anything. So I'm just going to find something there. But on the insurance stuff, I'd say, well, okay, well, I appreciate it. Do you know what you have? Is it permanent? Is it term? Do you know? I think it's term. Great. When does that end? I don't know. Well, that would be a big deal to know. How much does the premium go up to at that point? Well, I don't know. Well, respectfully, I hear what you're saying, that you're all set, but you're not all set, because if you were, you'd be able to answer these questions. Why don't you go grab it? Let's look at it together. If you're all set, please keep what you have. But you should know these things. All right, we don't have any more time. Please welcome our MC up. Where is she at? She's hiding somewhere. There it is, Grace.